You woke up this morning and the first thing you did was reach for your phone. Maybe you checked the time. Maybe you scrolled. Maybe you lay there for a few minutes staring at the ceiling, waiting for your brain to catch up with your body. You probably had a glass of water at some point, maybe coffee. And within an hour you were fed, caffeinated, and more or less ready to face the day. Now strip all of that away. No phone, no coffee, no alarm that went off at a predetermined time, no ceiling above you, no bed beneath you. Just you, on the ground, in the dark, and somewhere not far away, something is moving through the brush that you cannot see. That is how every single one of your ancestors woke up for the vast majority of human history. And what they did in those first moments after opening their eyes tells you more about what you actually are than almost anything else science has uncovered. It starts before you even think it starts. Researchers studying sleep physiology have found that the human body begins preparing to wake up roughly an hour before it actually does. Cortisol, the hormone most people associate with stress, starts rising in what scientists call the cortisol awakening response. This is not a malfunction. This is not your body stressing you out before the day begins. This is one of the most sophisticated alarm systems ever evolved, calibrated over hundreds of thousands of years to bring you from deep unconsciousness to functional alertness before your eyes even open. Neuroscientist Russell Foster at the University of Oxford has spent decades studying how human circadian rhythms interact with the environment, and what he has found is that ancient humans did not wake up the way modern humans do. They did not jolt awake to a jarring sound. They did not lie in a dark room with blackout curtains until an artificial light forced consciousness on them. They woke up with the light. Gradually, their biology tracked the slow brightening of the sky and began the transition from sleep to wakefulness in sync with it. Cortisol rising, heart rate climbing, body temperature ticking upward. By the time the sun actually crested the horizon, an ancient human was already alert. And alertness was not optional. It was the difference between surviving the night and not surviving it. The first moments after waking for an ancient human were not sluggish. They were not confused. What researchers studying modern hunter-gatherer groups have observed is something that looks almost alarming to modern eyes. The transition from sleep to full situational awareness happened in seconds. Not minutes, seconds. Eyes open, environment scanned. Threat assessment complete. Before a single word was spoken. Before anyone moved toward food or water, the first act of every waking ancient human was to understand exactly where they were and whether anything had changed while they were unconscious. Think about what that means. You evolved from people for whom the first thought every single morning was not what am I going to eat, not what do I have to do today, but is anything trying to kill me right now? That is the cognitive subroutine your brain is still running when you wake up, buried underneath the modern noise of notifications and schedules. The baseline anxiety a lot of people feel in the first few minutes of the morning, that low hum of unease before the day has even started, is not a mood disorder. It is an ancient threat assessment running on hardware that was built for a very different world. Once the immediate environment was cleared, something else happened. Something that took researchers studying ancient human behavior by surprise. Ancient humans woke up and they talked. Anthropologist David Sampson at the University of Toronto has studied sleep patterns in modern hunter-gatherer groups as a window into prehistoric behavior, and one of the most consistent findings across multiple populations is that waking is a social event. The moments after sunrise in an ancient human camp were not quiet. They were filled with what researchers describe as social information exchange. Who dreamed what? What sounds were heard in the night? What the sky looked like? What the plan was for the day? This was not casual conversation. This was critical data sharing that helped the group calibrate its collective understanding of the environment before anyone left the safety of the camp. This makes sense when you consider what sleep actually is from an evolutionary standpoint. Every member of the group that was asleep was a potential vulnerability. Eyes closed, guard down. Response time dramatically slowed. The morning conversation was, in part, a collective confirmation that everyone had made it through the night intact and that the information gathered by the lighter sleepers, those who had half monitored the environment while the others rested more deeply, could be distributed to the group before the day began. Modern humans do a version of this and almost no one notices. You wake up and you check your phone. You scroll through what happened while you were asleep. You look at news, messages, notifications. You are doing exactly what your ancient brain expects you to do in the first minutes of consciousness, gathering information about what changed while you were vulnerable. The medium is different. The behavior is identical. After the social exchange came water. Not because ancient humans had a morning wellness routine, but because the human body loses a significant amount of water through breathing and sweating during sleep, and dehydration affects cognitive function faster and more severely than most people realize. Researcher Neil Morris at the University of Westminster has studied the cognitive effects of mild dehydration and found measurable impairments in concentration, memory, and reaction time at dehydration levels most people wouldn't even consciously notice. Ancient humans didn't know the science, but they knew that the first thing you did after surviving the night was find water. And they knew it because the ones who didn't find it first performed worse, made worse decisions, and were more likely to not survive long enough to pass that behavior forward. Then came fire. If the group had maintained a fire through the night, the first priority of the morning was bringing it back to full strength. Not for warmth, though that was part of it. Fire in the morning served multiple purposes that modern humans have completely outsourced to infrastructure. It cooked food, which made calories available in a form the body could absorb more efficiently. It provided light that extended the functional window of the day beyond what natural light alone would allow. It signaled to anything nearby that this location was occupied by something that controlled fire, which, as we know, was one of the most powerful deterrents in the ancient world. And it served as a social anchor, a central gathering point around which the group organized the beginning of the day. There is a reason the phrase "gathering around the fire" shows up across virtually every human culture that has ever been studied. It is not a metaphor. It is a memory, encoded so deeply into human social behavior that it survived the invention of central heating, electric light, and every other technology that made the fire itself unnecessary. You still gather around a central point in the morning. A kitchen, a coffee maker, a table. The fire is gone, but the instinct to orient the beginning of the day around a shared focal point is still running. Food, when it came, was not guaranteed, and it was not immediate. Anthropologist Herman Pontzer has studied energy expenditure and eating patterns in the Hadza of Tanzania, and what he found is that breakfast as a concept, a reliable morning meal consumed shortly after waking, is an invention of agricultural societies. For most of human history, waking up hungry was not unusual. Waking up and not knowing when or whether you would eat was normal. And yet ancient humans did not wake up and immediately begin the anxious calorie-seeking behavior that modern culture has built entire industries around. They woke up, assessed their environment, connected with their group, found water, tended their fire, and then moved. The food would come from the movement, not from a cabinet 3 feet away. This is worth sitting with for a moment because it maps almost perfectly onto one of the most counterintuitive findings in modern nutrition science. Researcher Mark Mattson at the National Institutes of Health has documented extensively how the human body performs cognitively and physically in a fasted state, and what he found is that mild morning hunger does not impair performance the way modern culture assumes it does. The brain runs efficiently on ketones produced from stored fat, the body is primed for physical activity by the cortisol that woke it up, and the hunter-gatherer body moving through an early morning environment was in many ways more functional, not less, than the modern human who eats within minutes of waking and then sits still for 8 hours. Your body expects to move in the morning. It has been moving in the morning for hundreds of thousands of years. The cortisol that woke you up was not asking you to check your phone and drink coffee and sit in traffic. It was asking you to stand up, scan the horizon, drink something, and start walking. That mismatch between what your biology expects and what your morning actually delivers is one of the most consistent contributors to the low-grade fog, sluggishness, and anxiety that a significant portion of the population experiences every single day before the day has even started. Ancient humans did not have the luxury of a slow morning, but they also did not have the particular suffering of a modern one. No inbox waiting, no commute, no decisions about what to wear or where to be or how to manage the 17 competing demands that modern life loads onto a person before they have finished their first cup of anything. They woke up, they oriented themselves, they connected with their group, they drank water, they tended their fire, and they moved toward the day with a clarity of purpose that most modern humans spend their entire lives trying to find. The morning routine that wellness culture sells you as a revolutionary act, movement, hydration, connection, intentional stillness, purpose, is not revolutionary at all. It is a reconstruction, a clumsy, expensive, app-assisted attempt to recreate something your ancestors did automatically every single morning simply because it was the only way to survive. You woke up this morning and reached for your phone. You were looking for the same thing they were looking for. Information about what changed while you were vulnerable. Confirmation that your group was intact. A reason to get up and move. You just have a different way of finding it now. And somewhere underneath all of that, the ancient brain that woke your ancestors up at dawn is still running its first check of the morning, still asking the same question it has always asked. Is everything okay out there? Can we begin?